Fire it up! Okay. Yeah, it's going. So this is Boo's Fury. There's basically Legacy of Goku 1, and then Legacy of Goku 2, and this is basically the third installment of Boo's Fury. And this game is really fucking good. You don't start, like, in comparison to the first two Legacy of Goku games, you start out as level 1. This one pretty much pushes you on past those games, and you start out at a higher level. And this is going to be a TAS with Daniel. It's going to show off some very interesting stuff here. So I'm gonna be holding it down, watching. So right away, this is basically going over. It starts on, you know, just as most Dragon Ball Z game. It starts on Series 1, and we can see in the very top we have an input display. So that rolls pretty deep, and it's gonna go over basically Goku starts on Snake Way. And the very start of this game, it basically starts with Goku in the world of the dead, you know. So wherever, you know, King Kai takes him, and this is the Grand Kai. And you remember where Goku fights Pecan? Wasn't it Pecan? And then the Grand Master tells him he'll teach him a new move, and that never happens. Oh, this is basically where the start of this takes off, and you start by, you know, grabbing some items, and the first two items he just grabbed were the arm wrist and the leg wrist. Like, it's basically weights that you can equip that it slows you down. However, it will speed up your experience. It gives you more experience for wearing them. So every enemy that's killed, you get more experience for wearing those items. And so we're seeing a little bit of grinding here. And he's leveling up in the overworld. And by equipping those items, he gets more experience for killing these enemies. And it looks like the grind is continuing. You need to hit level 65 in the beginning of this game to open up a door, which is why this is happening. He has to get to level 65. Once he gets to level 65, he'll be able to open up that door, and then Goku is going to be using teleport, which is seen in basically anywhere from the Cell Saga onward. Goku can teleport, like, basically anywhere. And that's a move that's in this game. You have the teleport, and you can teleport to the chest once he gets in there. So it looks like we're going past level 65, so we'll see how far this goes. I do know that there's an item that you can equip. There's a hat that you can equip that gives you more bonus stats each level. And that's something that I definitely was a big fan of. When you get around to the Trunks and Goten segment of the game, you collect this hat and you can wear it. And it gives you, instead of 3 stat points per level, you get 4 stat points per level. So you can boost your character up some more.
Whoa!
Boosting it up. So we're grinding it out. He got to like 78.5. He's using instant transmission there and fighting this enemy. So like I said, there's a level 65 door. He's gonna be able to open it, but he did grind further than that. He went to level 68. Not sure. It'll obviously come into play later in this task. And like I said, this is a game that's a sequel to Legacy of Goku 1 and 2, and this is Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury, and it rolls fucking deep. You can advance your character past the like in Legacy of Goku 1, all you could do is grind to level 25, and then Legacy of Goku 2, all you can get to is level 50. And in this game, you can get to level 100. So, you can level up much higher in this game. And this game does showcase some pretty obscure, episodes as well of the series. So you get to see some pretty interesting stuff. So this is where Goku fights Pecan. It has one of the most deep, the Pecan theme is one of the most deepest themes in the whole DBZ series. And here, this is a pretty rugged section here, where Goku fights Pecan. It's a pretty epic fight. And basically, what happens is they both get disqualified because they both touch the ceiling of the arena. So you can't ring out. Like during a tournament fight, they're not able to step outside the box, and as well there's a vertical exposure as well. So they go all the way up and they touch the ceiling, and so because they touch the ceiling, they're both disqualified from this fight. And basically, if you've watched the DBZ episodes, you see that the Grandmaster says that he will teach the winner a special move, and that never, in 1,000 years or whatever, and that never comes up.
What is going on here?
What is going on? And so this is basically the Boo's Fury is basically the third series of the Dragon Ball Z installment. We have the Boo Saga essentially, and so you have Gohan, who can turn Super Saiyan. It's previously going upon the Cell Saga, where he was a Super Saiyan 2 and he defeated Cell. Here he's turning Super Saiyan and defeating villains around the town, but at the same time he's going to high school, or I think he's just going to high school. And basically he asks Bulma for help to hide his identity, so that he's not known as Gohan, so he can roll around as Great Saiyan Man. And so you'll see here, he's returning to school, he's explaining to his classmates why he was gone, because he's a superhero and he's going Super Saiyan around the town, and he's, taking care of villains and taking care of this while class is in session. He's out rolling deep, taking care of the bad guys. So that's where that's at. And so in this game, while you're when you're in Super Saiyan mode, you can run faster. There is an Ascended Saiyan, which is seen in Legacy of Goku 2. And when you go into the Ascended Saiyan form, you realize that you're slower, but you're a lot more powerful. So in that mode, you're a lot slower. This one, I don't think it's seen as much because they realized that the Ascended Saiyan, and that was something in the second saga, the Cell saga, that was a big deal. Is that Trunks and Vegeta, while they were in the hyperbolic time chamber, understood that even though they were more powerful, they were a lot slower in that form. So it's pretty much irrelevant in this game because that was seen in Legacy of Goku 2 when you were playing it, because you could play as Vegeta and you could play as Trunks, and they were both slower as the Ascended Saiyan in that game. So here, a lot of times turning Super Saiyan, you have faster movement speed, and like I just explained, Gohan was embarrassed that he had to show that he was he was a golden hair boy, and all the people at school would give him shit because the golden hair boy looked a lot like Gohan, so he got a costume, and here he is, the Great Saiyaman. Which is a big part of the Buu saga, is the story of Gohan and his high school years that he has to explain why he is leaving class to go fight, villains and whatnot. So as this is all going down, you see an input display in the top of the screen, and you see what's going on. So that's pretty much the intro of this game. Buu's Fury is that you basically have Goku, who is in the other dimension, other world, and he is showing that he's dead, and he's in a martial arts tournament in the other world fighting Pecan, and here you have his son Gohan. His story, and so that's how it starts out in the Buu's Fury, and it's not a bad story at all. So that's where it kicks off in Buu's Fury, and the main characters in this game are Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Goten, with Goku and Vegeta. Unfortunately, in this game, you cannot play as Piccolo, where you could play as Piccolo in Legacy of Goku 2. You cannot play as Piccolo in this game. And Piccolo is the best character in the Dragon Ball Z franchise altogether. You cannot play as Piccolo in this game, so that's the only issue. This is a pretty damn good game, though, as it lets you level up a lot further than the previous Legacy of Goku games. However, they start you at a later level. So as you can see, Gohan is already at level 60, and you saw Goku start basically everyone starts on level 50 and goes up, and they're basically saying, okay, well, you played the previous game and ended at level 50, so here's the sequel. Here's how it goes past that. So they're explaining that. And so we saw a lot of grinding as Goku. Here we are as Gohan, and we're grinding in the TAS here. He's fighting the thugs here, which gives the most experience, clearly, and that's why he keeps going back to them in this TAS. And then he collects the, so he does not collect the pterodactyl, who's caged up, until he's done with the grinding he just now did. And then finishes off the grinding. It looks like he is level 64. Is he going to go to 65? looks like he got 64.5. Now he's continuing onward. Yeah, so if you don't know the difference between a TAS and an RTA, clearly you're new to the speedrunning scene. An RTA speedrun is somebody live speedrunning a game with basically a single segment run, which is basically they have to finish the game from start to finish. And complete the entire run by themselves. A task run is basically they're using is a tool assisted run where they can use emulate, they can use whatever they need to advance. They can put in whatever inputs they need to put in, and that will process what actions are going to be made during the run. And so it's basically, somebody that puts in a lot of work to put out the fastest possible thing that you can do in a game, and they showcase it, and they get updated from time to time. And the TAS community often does help with the speedrun community, with the active RTA speedrunning community, because people who actively run games can go about the TAS runs, and they can look at the TAS runs, and then they can see that, okay, here's what the TAS does, and here's what the best possible outcome can be. Now, how can I do this, and how can I so they help each other hand in hand. However, people in the RTA community may look down on the TAS community, and people in the TAS community may not respect some of the active runners, and it goes, kind of like back and forth. And the TAS basically does ultimately tries to showcase what you can do at the fastest possible. What input, like how fast can you advance these text boxes? How fast can you do this part of the game? Here's how it's done. I will show you how it's done. And an interesting thing that I'm seeing in this task video is in the top left, the numbers will go red every once in a while. I wonder if that is a red split for the task, and if maybe it's slower now, but it's faster later in the run. But I do know that they are advancing the text boxes as quickly as possible, as quickly as you can possibly advance. They are pushing the correct input to advance these text boxes as they come up. So you're seeing these text boxes just fly by. During this run. So after that Gohan segment here, if you've watched the Boo series, the next thing that comes up is the tournament that they all enter into, because Goku is coming back to Earth for one day. And he's coming back to Earth, and they're getting ready for this tournament, this martial arts tournament. and you have Gohan in the tournament, and you have the two kids, Trunks and Goten, but they cannot enter the adults segment of the tournament. They can only enter into the child, like the kids tournament, and they just blow by the kids. In the kids tournament, they show off first. So they show off Trunks and Goten just destroying each other, and then they show the tournament. Yeah, so here we have Trunks and Goten. So they do that first, and then they do the adults tournament. So here it showed that they equipped the weights to gain more experience by equipping the arm and it's basically the arm, the wrist band, and the steel feet that they equip. It makes them walk slower and run slower, but by killing off enemies and killing off boss, defeating any enemy, they will acquire more experience for wearing those. That's why that's important. And so here Trunks is capitalizing on the experience that he can get out of the tournament fight. Obviously, we saw some grinding for the experience on Gohan and Goku early in this TAS. So we're seeing that whatever, as quick as you can defeat these enemies here, and there's 10 rounds, 10 matches. At the end of it, Goten faces off with Trunks in this, and that's the kids segment. Then you have Gohan, who, if you obviously watched the Dragon Ball Z series, you know that basically Gohan was feeling up and feeling on Videl, who is a female character who was trying to get at Gohan's nuts, is trying to get on his dick. Trying to suck the jizz out of it. So here's match 10 with Trunks and so it basically the battle gets so heated up to where Goten can't handle it anymore. He goes Super Saiyan, and then Trunks also goes Super Saiyan, as seen as the series. And they both go Super Saiyan, and Trunks wins that fight, and he gets to battle with the one and only Satan, Hercule. And Hercule tries to bitch out. He tries to run off. He's like, oh. He's a show off. He's a fucking, So the one and only Hercule is gonna fight this kid, and they fucking can't stand up to Super. He's like, oh, I was only letting him. I let him win. And he tries to show off, and it just rolls out. That's how the story goes, and then we have Krillin and everyone who's in the goddamn tournament. In the end of the tournament, you have Gohan, who wins. He faces off two opponents who they have an M on their head. Right. So here it is, right here. We got Videl and this guy with an M on his head. And so the game allows you to play as Videl and you fight this guy. So Videl is a character that's temporarily given to you in the game. You cannot progress your stats at all. They start at whatever, and they never go. You only play as Videl in this one segment, and you fight this guy right here, and he's got an M on his head, and of course she's getting your ass kicked, and Gohan's all up on her pussy, and she wants a part of it, and so he has to hop in. So here we go, and then you have Videl gets her ass fucking beat and handed to her. And so Gohan has to roll in, and it's his turn. So here we go. So you saw at the beginning of the game, you had Goku with his shit, and then Gohan, his son, can turn Super Saiyan, and he's in college, and he's trying to show everybody, So Daniel's saying, here comes the glitch. Not sure what it is. So see if I can explain it. Yeah. So I mean, I remember, when this episode of the Dragon Ball Z series came out, like live on TV and shit. Like, so I mean, obviously I've been around. Like, I remember back in fucking the day the episode came out for this fucking Dragon Ball Z show, and this shit came out. So I was there when that shit came out, and it was pretty hype, and we were all everybody everyone at my school was talking about, all of my friends were talking about this shit, but I'm a fucking 90s child, so this is a Game Boy Advance theme. This is Dragon Ball Z Boost Free, and it came out in 2000 2 or 3. I can't remember. But I remember specifically watching the Dragon Ball Z show, and I watched it all throughout the Boo saga, and all my friends were talking about, oh, the GT series is gonna be fucking sick, and it was shit because you had Ham and Trunks, and that was all you had, and you had Kid Goku again because he went back in time, and I just wasn't and then the Boo's saga in general was just kind of shit because it was all about fusion this and fusion that, and okay, let's fuse together to do this and fuse together to do that, and it just got out of hand. It was one thing when it was the original DBZ, and you had Vegeta just killing it. And he was just a ruthless motherfucker who was just showing you what the fuck it was about, and it was dank. And then, even within the Cell saga, you still had some of that shit, but it wasn't as good. As far the Frieza saga was the best saga of the entire show, but that's just me. So alright, so at this point of the game, this is the first point where you really have free roam, and you can roam around, and basically this happens after Trunks comes up and shows up and says what he says to Goku, and basically says, alright, there's another force out there, and so this is where, so I mean, the Cell saga was pretty dank for me. I like the Cell Saga, and this is the booster, and this is part of the Cell Saga right here. And so you have Gohan, Rollin deep, and this is part of the Cell Saga where they were dealing with Android 20 and 19. And so this is the part of the shit that I remember. So yeah, go like. There's a lot of doors in this game that have level requirements, and that's why you have to grind a lot. And so what you're seeing here in the TAS is, like, obviously they're just grinding for experience, and they're doing it quickly. And that's because there's a lot of doors that need to be opened. So you have level requirement doors that if you don't hit that level, you can't open the door. And so, yeah, you start out as, like, what, level 60... 50 and then like, that's the one thing I guess I honestly personally had a complaint with this particular game, is that you start like at a mid-high level. Like, you don't start at level 1 and work your way up. Like, you start at like level 60 and start from there to go level 100. But I did like the transit. So the previous Legacy of Goku 2, you would level up and you would get a set. You would get a set amount of stats applied to your character. So you would get like, it was like power, strength, and endurance or something, like those 3 stats. And so you would get like +2 power, +2 strength, and like +1 endurance or something when you level up. So in this game, you had the ability to apply whatever, like every time you level up, you got +3 stat points, and then you had an item that you can equip to your character that gave you +4 stat points, which is like Goku's hat or something. So in this game, I really like that. I really like that aspect of the game where you could apply your own stats to your character. So you could say, you know, like, fuck power, like, fuck endurance, I just want the strength. So you just like pump it all into the strength. But at that point, you still even at that point had a cap to how far you could push your strength, or how, like, if you pumped out one stat, it would limit you to a certain amount. And you couldn't go past that amount. So if you try to get past, like, you know, like you try to pump all your stats into one amount. So like if you wanted all strength, like if you wanted to put all 3 stat points into strength, you could only do it if your stat points were not pumped all into that one stat previously. So like every time you level up, you get +3 points, but you can only put like 1 or 2 of those points to one stat, unless you have not pumped out that one stat. So like, if you're trying to balance your character out, for example, every level up, so you put like 1 stat point towards strength, 1 stat point towards power, or 1 point. So strength is your physical attack damage. Power or Kai is your energy attack damage. So your energy beams and your Kamehameha waves and your special beam cannons and your big bang attacks. And then your endurance is how much defense you have, like how much less damage you take for getting hit. So there's the 85 level door that you have to open up to enter Babidi's ship. And so basically you pump out Gohan and Gohan only to do that, and obviously you have the weights on him, and now we switch them over to Goku, and now they're training Goku in this path. So in Babidi's ship, you had to hit these switches. You had to roll around and activate these switches. So a lot of times on the left and the right side, you had to hit the left and hit a switch, and go right and hit a switch. And me and myself, I would always play this as Vegeta, so it's interesting to see the TAS plays as Goku, most likely because the door requirements are going to require Goku before Vegeta to go into the next segment. Holy dude. Shout out to KBZ. If we cannot get the Yoshi race start, it's supposed to happen like 20 minutes ago, and I have to go to work tomorrow at 3 a.m. So fucking, you want to fucking push and test me? I don't like. You're already gonna lose me, and that's like the only person who's down at this point. So here, Vegeta versus Huey is like the dope. It's the dope. Like, it's one of my favorite scenes to look up on the anime series. Was Vegeta versus Huey. That scene is like hella dope because like Vegeta's like fighting Huey, who's like, I've trained in 10 times Earth gravity, and Vegeta's like, I've trained in 1,000 times Earth. What the fuck are you talking about? And Vegeta just fucking like just fucks him up so hard, so fucking hard. That is one of the best scenes in DBZ. As well, and that's not even as good as him fucking up Kui from the Frieza saga. Like, that's one of my like. He's such a like nobody even knows about that character. He's not even like in some of the DBZ, a lot of the DBZ games, because he just gets fucked so hard by Vegeta. Which again, here you have Vegeta fucking Kui, who's basically your Boo's like fucking edition of fucking the Frieza saga Kui, and he basically just fucks him so hard, and it's such a good scene because you just get to see how ruthless fucking Vegeta is. And right there, this is taking place from the Buu saga of the series, and you have this is the Dabura, and basically the beginning of Buu here, and you have Vegeta just fucking up Kui, and here we have the next segment. Here, there's Goku fucking up Yukon, Yakon, whatever the fuck his name is, and he just gets him on like one Kamehameha blast in the series. So he's ratted out as a bitch, and so is Kui, who just gets fucked by Vegeta. So they both get fucked, and then next up it's like, okay, Vegeta, so we'll all fight our own enemies, and we'll all do that, and all, which is what's in the series. So Vegeta's like, alright, my turn. Like, of course Vegeta's just like the first to roll out, and he's like, I'm just gonna show this fucking Kui bitch what the fuck is up. Just fucks him up. And then you have Goku, who just rolls out, just fucks up Khan right there. And then the next step coming is you have, okay, well, Vegeta and Goku's thrown down. So now we have Gohan, who needs to prove his way, he needs to throw his way around. So next up is Gohan fighting Dabura, who's like, it looks like the devil. It looks like he's got a red devil dick, and basically Dabura's got this ability where he can spit on people and it turns him into stone, and so he spits on my boy Piccolo. He spits on Krillin, before anybody, because Krillin's a bitch and gets spit on. He's fucked. But he spits on my boy Piccolo, who is, and my favorite character in particular, spits on him, and he turns to stone, so he's disabled until the Dabura gets handled later on. And it's Trunks and it's Goten who find Krillin and Piccolo just stoned out of their minds. Okay, in the show. So they find Krillin and they find Piccolo stoned. and then the next thing you know, basically in the series, so you had you had Vegeta fucking up Kui, and then you had Goku fucking up Yukon, and then you had Gohan, having a little arm wrestle with Burrow, and then he gets. I'm pretty sure he gets fucked by his own buddies, and they, Bobbity and fucking Boobity and Bobbity and whatever the fuck, and they just fuck his ass. So he's just done, and then so you got that going on, right? And so it's really interesting to see if we look at the frame rate. We see that this is halfway through the game, because this is like the beginning of the game still, in my opinion. Like we just started the Boo saga. We haven't even seen Boo yet. We're halfway through the TAS apparently. So that's interesting to note. So a lot of this grinding. So it's good. Like this is definitely going to be faster in game to where I'm used to, but so far it really hasn't been like super too impressive. But I have noticed that they have been doing a lot of grinding in this TAS that I didn't do in my little play and smoke along of this game. So I just fucking finished my alcohol and we have not even started Yoshi's Island, so I'm yeah. So I have no fucking clue what's going on with Canis, Void, and Waffle. It's more like Canis and Void are just sucking each other off, and Waffle's too busy smoking pot right now to really give a fuck. And so here we have this Rollin DBZ TAS, which is Rollin fuck. So. Well, unfortunately, I'm out of fucking beer, and I can't get any more shit face, so it's gonna start coming down. I'm not. And if you start up this Yoshi, like I already was planning on it starting around fucking 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. What was the fuck? So if you start this Yoshi race, fucking right, I better be like right when this fucking TAS ends. I apparently have time to go to the store before this TAS ends, but at the same time, I do want to explain the lore, and we've been rolling pretty deep on this commentary, because I played this game. So, you have to hit a lot of switches into Burrow's ship, and you have to do, like, it's kind of annoying. I absolutely remember this point in this game. Like, not only do you have to hit a lot of the switches, but you have to, like, grab some buttons, like, elsewhere and then plug them into the machine and then hit the switch. So, and then you do that, and then you head on. And then it gets to the point where you have one of the most iconic scenes in Dragon Ball Z, which is Goku fighting Vegeta in the Buu Saga. Like, the Buu Saga was kind of weak, to be flat out and honest, but you had the scene that's kind of coming up here in the game, which is Vegeta versus Goku, and that was a pretty fucking good scene, and Vegeta had a lot of good lines during that fight. Like, it got a lot of good mentions during that fight, and that's basically what comes up here in the story. So, well, I mean, after the whatever Gohan and the Burrow fucking bullshit, where he spits on my boy Piccolo, who Piccolo is my favorite character. And I'll say it again and say it again, say it again, because Piccolo is the best character in Dragon Ball Z. But so I would definitely say that, in the series and in the show, the Buu saga was definitely a lot weaker than the Frieza and Cell saga series, but it did have a pretty big moment here, which was Goku versus Vegeta in a saga right here. And basically they said, you know what, we have a bigger force, we have a bigger enemy at hand, but I don't give a fuck. We're Super Saiyans, and we are the strongest fucking beings in the universe. Let's go out, let's face off right now, right here, right now. And here it is. You have Vegeta and Goku, and Vegeta basically says, you know what, I've been a bit lighthearted for too long. You know, I've been fucking helping people out. I've been doing this. I've had it. And so let's fucking kill these civilians. Let's just shoot. Let's just fuck them up. I don't give a fuck. I want a piece of you, Goku. I want a fucking piece of your fucking bitch ass. And so here it is. Like it just rolls right. And this is a pretty iconic scene to me and a lot of people. And this is why the Buu saga is still remembered as like a good saga. Like it's like because of this scene right here, because you have that Majin and Vegeta like. Or basically Vegeta saying, you know what, like I'm tired of this, you know, fucking being good and doing all this shit. I want to be fucking, you know, I want to give it in the dark side. I want to have fucking, that's why I let Bobby control my mind or whatever, because I want to fucking be a badass again, you know. I'm tired of this shit. So you have that going on. So that rolls pretty fucking deep. And here it is, right here, and here, I mean, obviously, in the TAS, you have Goku just fucking up Vegeta, which basically it does happen in the series as well. You do have a few moments where Vegeta's like, you know, fucking Goku up a little bit, and then Goku gets the upper hand again. And then you have at the end of the fight there, Goku's a little bitch and says, you know what, I'm sorry, Vegeta. Here's this sensu bean, which is, you know, a sign of weakness of his pussy ass. And basically Vegeta just takes command of that. And basically Vegeta just shows off that Goku's a fucking vagina and just smacks him in the back of the head and knocks him out. And that's it was a pretty rugged scene in the DBZ series. And you know, even though a lot of people talk shit, and I didn't talk a lot of shit about the Buu saga, this part of the series, like this episode, this was definitely one of the big highlights of the show. Is when Vegeta would he pretty much just dominated the entire show, like from the beginning of the series. Like everybody's favorite character was either Vegeta or, like, me personally Piccolo's my favorite. But he's like a super intelligent, like, badass himself. But Vegeta was a fucking a lot of people's favorite character, and he just shows how fucking weak and fragile and fucking what a pussy bitch Goku is, and smacks him in the back of the head and says, you know what, I'm done with this shit. You know, okay, Buu's may be strong, but we're Super Saiyans and we're gonna be stronger. And you know what, like, fucking, like, Buu ain't shit in the long run. And he's dead on with that statement, and just hits it like a fucking nail on the head. Hits it like I fucking drill these fucking, you know, screws into the fucking wood every fucking day at work. Just fucking nails it. So that's that. So here's Fat Buu, who's released, and we had Deborah trying to step up and trying to say, you know what, I was Bobbity's bitch before you, and basically Buu says, you know what, fuck you, you're a little bitch, and fuck you, and there it goes. And that's that. Whew. And then, bam, you know, blowing it up, sparking it up, Vegeta just says, you know, I'm done with this shit, and just blows it all up. And so Babidi's kind of like trying to act like he controls Buu and all this shit, but he's just really a little bitch himself. And that was another, you know, kind of a big part of the series there is like, you know what, like, who the fuck are you, Babidi? Some dumb fucking cunt bitch. And even Buu has had it with that shit. He's more powerful than Babidi's little bitch ass over Buu. So in the game, like, trapping them against the corner, like, traveling like against the wall like that and just punching them against the wall. Usually what will happen is when you punch them, they'll knock back and go back into the center of the field, and you can't, like, knock them up against the wall like that. But in a task like that, you're punching at the specific time and honestly, that honestly seems like something somebody can capitalize in an RTA run if they were to practice that. But it's rhythmatically, pushing the A button and pushing it at a specific time to ram them up against the wall like that. So it's pretty interesting that the TAS is showing that off there. And Boo's fucking pissed out of his mind. He's just all night. He's just jizzing out that stuff. It's really interesting to see the frame rate, and you see that we are basically like 2/3 of the run through, and this is really the beginning of the game. So I'm honestly pretty interested to see how this is done like so quickly past this point, because this is really honestly the beginning of the game that it gives you, and then there's a lot of overworld stuff. There's collecting the Dragon Balls that you have to do in this game, and that's what takes a lot. Like me myself personally, it took a while. You have to grab a lot of the Dragon Balls as Goten and Go 10 and Trunks. Go around collecting the Dragon Balls, and that's a pretty long part of the game. But I'm sure the TAS is going to show that out pretty quickly if we're already this far, if the frame rate is true as mine. A big part of it I've seen is definitely advancing the text boxes like as soon as they come up with this TAS. You've seen that through in and throughout. So Kami's Lookout. So this is a part where I think they go back to the hyperbolic time chamber. Because they need to pump it up, lift the weights, Rollin deep. So this game, you are able to switch characters at a lot of points of the game, but you're only able to switch over to characters that are available at the time. So if any character has their back turned, you cannot select that character. So a lot of times it's like, okay, well, Goten and Trunks you're only able to use in this segment, or only Goku in this segment, or only Gohan, or only Vegeta here. And the biggest complaint, like the only problem I have with this game is Piccolo's no longer a main character in the game, and in Legacy of Goku 2, Piccolo was a main character, and you can level him up, and you can play as Piccolo, and he's my favorite character. You cannot play as Piccolo in this game. And that's the biggest downfall of this game. But Piccolo really was not a big, he wasn't a big character in the Buu saga. He did not really, his latest relevance was fusing with Kami in the Cell saga, and he tried to take on Cell's first form, and that was basically the last relevance of Piccolo. You had, Piccolo in the Frieza saga fusing with Nail, syncing with Nail, fusing with Kami, so he had to do syncing with Nail in the Frieza saga, and then he fused with Kami in the Cell saga, but he was pretty much irrelevant in the Buu saga. So that was one of the things. That's one of the things why I'm not a huge fan of the Buu saga, because my favorite character, Piccolo, really isn't shit in this. Vegeta's Vegeta's a hardcore badass motherfucker. He's definitely a part of this, but the only big part of this saga you've already seen was he turns Majin Vegeta. After that, again, he's irrelevant until he becomes Vegito, which at that point he's basically showing his weaknesses and fusing with Goku, and it's an embarrassing moment, honestly, for Vegeta. At the end of this saga, Vegeta's a badass, and then he has to fuse with Goku and become a Vegito. Are you watching the stream, or are you watching the frame rate? Like, it's basically over 230. Like, from what the frame, we basically have 15 minutes. I'm already gonna be way past my fucking bedtime because of this. It's fun. I might want to eat another pizza, and now would be the best time to do that. A big part of this is while you're basically your main playable characters at this point are Trunks and Goten, and there's a segment where well, basically you're collecting all the Dragon Balls at this point, and you want to get all 7 Dragon Balls, and you go to this one stage where there's like ninjas and shit, and you beat like the ninja boss or whatever. It gives you a hat, the Goku's hat, and that hat gives you +1 stat point every level. So, I mean, in this game you have wrists and feet that you can equip that give you more experience points per kill. And on top of that, you can wear a hat that you can gain more stat points every level. So, like I was saying at the beginning of the game, you get +3 every time he levels up, and there you grab the shoes, which maybe give him more experience per kill. And they drop like health and shit, but that's not gonna be like, I doubt a TAS is ever gonna need health. And you have, when you're Super Saiyan in this game, as opposed to Legacy of Goku 2, Legacy of Goku 2, you have 1 Kai meter, and that 1 Kai meter deteriorates when you're Super Saiyan. While in this game, when you turn Super Saiyan or you go to the next level, you get an additional meter. So you have the gold, like the yellow meter on top of your, like the green. So you see the yellow meter overlaps the green meter in this game. When you go Super Saiyan in this game, you get an additional bar, and once that bar, and so that's a huge fucking deal, because when you turn Super Saiyan, it's based on a time limit when that refills. As far, in opposed to Legacy of Goku 2, you have to collect like orbs, and you have to collect energy balls from enemies and whatnot. And when you turn Super Saiyan, it doesn't give you an extra bar every time to expend. And with that bar, like, as now, like, until that yellow meter runs out, he will remain Super Saiyan. So obviously the TAS is going to utilize as much, the Super Saiyan form as it can get in this run. But, previously in the Legacy of Goku 2, basically you would be collecting energy balls from enemies that you kill to refill that. And basically when you run out of energy, there's no, like, until you level up or until you grab more energy, that never refills. But however, when you do level up in Legacy of Goku 2, your energy bar refills all the way. So when you're Super Saiyan, like, you basically try to level up before you run out, and but here when you level up, the gold meter does never go up. So it's got its pros and cons, but basically it's, I would say, a big deal in this game where you have the yellow meter here. And the idea here, what they're doing is they're trying to collect all of the Dragon Balls to progress. So they have a dragon radar and all this shit, and they go in the game, so you see the star lights up where you need to go. And before, like, that's where you need to go, but he's going not where the start is, and he's going to the places where he can collect the Dragon Balls early, it looks like, and he's also collecting things like you need that bandit. You need that headband that he just collected, which is a Thieves headband, and by wearing that, it enables you to go into the club where it enables you to go back into. So there's a part in the game where you're questioned: are you a band? Like you cannot pass these people that block your way to get in a certain area without this headband. He just collected it there on that ship. And this is a ninja stronghold, and this is where you can get the Goku's hat, which gives you +4 stat points. Now, I'm not sure how relevant like acquiring stat points are in a TAS as opposed to an RTA, as opposed to like a casual playthrough. Like they're all three are different, but basically like you want to pump out one stat that you're going to be using mostly. So if you're punching most of your enemies, you want to boost up your strength point, your stat. If you're using, like Kai, if you're using energy blasts or energy-based attacks, you want to boost up your power. And if you take a lot of damage and you want to reduce the damage that you take, you boost endurance, which is obviously the least important in a speed run, and definitely you're probably not going to see them boost a lot of endurance in a task because they're not looking to get hit by a lot of things and they know what's coming. And the most important stats would be strength and power. Strength gives you the most attack damage, like physical attack damage, and power gives you the most Kai damage. So if you use any energy-based attack, your power is what does that. So you grab that key there. So you go down there, grab that key, and you put the ninja boss, and then collect. There's a Goku's hat that drops, and you can with that, and you can equip that. And instead of gaining 3 stat points per level, you gain 4 stat points per level. So in my casual gaming, I used to try to get to here as soon as possible with leveling up as much as possible, because that would enable you to get the most stat points. So you could boost your character up as much as possible with that. Instead of getting 3, and this is like the level requirement, I believe, is 80 or 90 for you to equip that. And so basically, as soon as you can equip that to your character, the better, and you get more stat points out of it. I believe it's 80, like level 80, you can equip the Goku's hat. And by doing that, every level that you get an extra stat point that you can place on your character, and that boosts the stats up more than you. Like, as soon as you start doing that, the more stat points you get in the long run. So I think at this point it's time for me to fire up the pizza, and I'll try to get down on the Yoshi's race, but already like my fucking bedtime is in 1 hour and a half, and the Yoshi's run will take me 2.5 hours. I understood that the last day of the Rollin marathon I'd probably be staying up later than usual, but if this does not start after this run or soon after this run, it's not gonna happen. Fire up this pizza. I'm firing up the pizza.